In our previous report, we mentioned that with the aggravation of the war conditions, more Russian soldiers will leave the front line and the power of the Russian army will gradually decrease. In our recent reports, we have also mentioned that 11 Russian soldiers on the front line surrendered. Again, there is a story of the surrender of the Russian soldiers. However, this story is a little different and exciting from the others. The Russian soldiers made such a plan that the Russian Federation could not realize that they would surrender. The Russia-Ukraine war is in a full swing on the front line. At many points, Ukrainian troops have established superiority over the Russian army. Ukrainian soldiers are conducting offensive operations. The Russian army faces difficult situation every day. Russian soldiers also do not want to fight. There are new developments on this issue. The latest developments felt like a bomb on the agenda. So what happened? Let's take a look at the developments together. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss the daily map reports and the agenda reports prepared by the Pioneer team. You can also support me and my team by using the Super Thanks button located at the bottom of the video. Let's start if you're ready, the Pioneer reports. With the news from the United Arab Emirates in the past days, Russia has experienced a great shock. Moreover, this shock experienced by the Russian Federation was even greater than the shocks of the past. Because one of the Russian soldiers had defected to the United States, Russia's sworn enemy. There is no clear information about the identity of the Russian soldier. However, some sources claim that the Russian soldier is a Russian Air Defense Force personnel named Lieutenant Garivchenko. Lieutenant Garivchenko had gone on holiday to the United Arab Emirates in the summer. It is not known whether the soldier had previously served during the Russia-Ukraine war. However, the fact that he is a fighter pilot increases the likelihood that he has served in the war before. Lieutenant Garivchenko had taken all precautions. He had taken his entire family with him when he left the Russian Federation. Garivchenko had planned it perfectly. It looked like an ordinary holiday, but this was no holiday. This was a major escape operation. The Russian pilot pretended to be on holiday in the United Arab Emirates for a long time, so even if he was being followed, there was no difference. That's what the lieutenant wanted, because Vladimir Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, could have agents everywhere. Even the lieutenant could have been under surveillance since he left Russia. So for a long time, the lieutenant just focused on his holiday and enjoyed the dessert. But then something unexpected happened. One morning, the Russian military pilot traveled to the United States Consulate General in Abu Dhabi with his whole family. The lieutenant told the American officials that he wanted to seek asylum in the United States, that he did not want to take part in the unjust war of the Russian leadership, and that he could cooperate if necessary. The American authorities allegedly accepted the Russian fighter pilot lieutenant's request for asylum in the United States. Allegations that the Russian Lieutenant Garivchenko took refuge in the United States dropped like a bomb on the agenda. According to the allegations, the Russian Federal Security Service took action after hearing this news. But it was too late, because Garivchenko had already taken refuge in the United States. At this point, the Federal Security Service officials had nothing to do. The Ukrainian authorities also commented on the allegations that Lieutenant Garivchenko had taken refuge in the United States. According to these comments, Ukraine has intelligence reports that Russian fighter pilot Lieutenant Garivchenko have sought refuge in the United States. The allegations about Garivchenko's defection to the United States have also brought a number of past incidents back to the agenda. Previously, a Russian fighter pilot, Lieutenant Anton Vasilyev, had fled Russia during the war and defected to the United States. Vasilyev had been living in Los Angeles for about 2 years. Vasilyev, who spent his free time on a ship, was also a blogger. Lieutenant Garivchenko and Lieutenant Vasilyev were allegedly friends. Vasilyev had therefore been trying to persuade Garivchenko to desert the army for a long time. In recent months, the Russian helicopter landed on the Ukrainian territory, and the helicopter pilot surrendered to the Ukraine and called on his friends to surrender as well. Vasilyev was allegedly the main character in the surrender of this helicopter pilot. It is therefore highly likely that the Lieutenant Vasilyev convinced Lieutenant Garivchenko. If these allegations are true and the Russian Lieutenant Gavrichenko surrendered in line with Vasiliev's call, the Russian army may face a difficult situation. This shows us that the Russian Lieutenant Vasiliev had an influence on the Russian soldiers. The life of the Vasiliev, who escaped from the war and started to live a happier life and did not face the danger of the death, is motivating for Russian soldiers. According to the allegations, many Russian soldiers follow Vasiliev's life and try to contact him. Vasiliev is also trying to meet with these soldiers and provide information to the American government. We see that the Vasiliev's work is quite fruitful. Especially with the emergence of the Gavrichenko exciting adventure, more and more Russian soldiers will look for the opportunities to escape from the army. As the winter conditions worsen, we will witness more and more Russian soldiers fleeing from the front. I would argue that worsening winter conditions will have a major impact on the Russian army. But why? Because over the past year, Russian soldiers have been fighting under difficult conditions in cold weather. The Russian war leadership did not fulfill the needs of these soldiers. There were also allegations that many soldiers froze to death. Recently, the Ukrainian army carried out a critical attack. During this attack, a factory producing camouflage for Russian soldiers was hit. This factory was located in Rostov. Among the most important needs of the Russian army at the moment is winter equipment. According to the allegations, when the factory's Rostov was hit, the winter clothes of the Russian army were being produced. In addition, winter clothes downloaded from the production line were stored in the warehouse near the factory. According to the reports we have compiled from the local sources, after the factory in Rostov was hit, a large explosion occurred in the factory. After the explosion, a big fire broke out. The fire also spread to the warehouses in the neighboring hood. With this fire, both the winter military equipments on the production line and the winter military equipments stored in the warehouses turned into ashes. With the attack, the Russian army enters the upcoming winter month facing a great deficiency. This situation will become clearer in the coming days. Here we can witness both Russian soldiers losing their lives due to the cold and Russian soldiers fleeing the war due to the harsh conditions. So, what do you think? Do you think the Russian fighter pilot, Lieutenant Gavrichenko, planned to escape? How did the Russian Federal Security Service fail to track Gavrichenko's escape? Did Lieutenant Vasiliev had an influence on the Russian soldiers leaving the front line? How do you assess the explosions and fires at the Russian production plant? Do you think this affects the Russian soldiers? Let me know in the comments. I read and I care about all your comments.